Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Christian Harvey, and you're watching Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are back on this Wednesday, December 11th, and we got a loaded show today. We're going to talk about three main Detroit teams. We're going to start off with some Detroit Tigers baseball. It is officially hot stove winter meeting season. We got some rumors. We got a signing. And like I said, we just got some more rumors in the pipeline. Things are starting to move now that Juan Soto signed with the New York Mets with that outrageously expensive deal. He's worth every dollar, though, so congrats to Mets fans everywhere. But the stove is starting to get hotter. Things are starting to happen. We got more rumors for you. We're going to be talking some Detroit Red Wings as well. Thriller of a game in Buffalo. I'm still not excited about this team whatsoever, but we're going to talk about something that transpired in the Buffalo game, what it could mean for the team, and if they made the right choice with it. You'll see what I mean when we talk about it. And then lastly, of course, the bread and butter of the town, the Detroit Lions. We will be talking the Buffalo Bills preview for the potential Super Bowl matchup on Sunday with the Bills coming to town. Huge matchup. CBS is going to be on location actually in Detroit. This is their marquee matchup. One of the biggest matchups of the entire NFL season. All that and more. Once again, you're watching Gritsville, USA right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, guys, welcome back to Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, my name is Christian Harvey. I am your host, and excited to talk about tonight. You know, we got some exciting Detroit Tigers news that we're going to, well, I don't know about exciting, but we're going to start off with some Detroit Tigers news. Once again, you can follow me on X, Twitter, whatever you call it, at Gritsville_IESR. We're also on wherever you find your podcasts, whether that's going to be through Spotify, Apple Radio, iHeartRadio, wherever you find us, we'll be there. Give us a follow also at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You guys see the ticker at the bottom. Go give us a follow there. Now, again, we're going to start off with some Detroit Tigers news. It's hot stove season officially. It is winter season. Winter meeting season. And the Tigers, they made a splash 2 days ago. We'll talk about splash. That's a very relative term. Looking at the comments here real quick. Taryn, yeah, Michigan football real quick, going 12-0 next year. I don't know. No, it's a little bit delusional. They will have a way better record this year. They won't go 7-5 like they did. We'll beat Ohio State again. I don't know about 12-0. Maybe we'll make the playoff. And I say that because I have very high hopes for Bryce Underwood. And then him coming to Michigan, that also brings a whole lot more recruits have started to come Michigan's way. It's just going to be a matter of, is Sharon Moore going to be the coach to lead us there? Or are we going to be looking for a new coach and potentially waste a couple or even one of Bryce Underwood's years? So we'll see. 12-0, don't see it. Still see a winning record. Still see a potential playoff push. But we'll see what happens this offseason. Once again, follow me on Gritsville_IESR. Haven't been posting much this week. I work in retail. It is holiday season. That my schedule is full. My plate is full. Got to make this money, you know. But once again, starting off with the Detroit Tigers. First and foremost, before I get into any free agent rumors, before any of that happens, I want to give a quick congratulations to our pitching coach, Chris Vetter. He won Baseball America's MLB Coach of the Year. Now that's separate than Manager of the Year. You know, we have hitting coaches, pitching coaches, and I think there's even plate running coaches. But there's different types of coaches, and Chris Vetter won. And there is nobody more deserving than him. What he did with our pitching staff this year has been nothing short of phenomenal. At the end of the season, we finished third in all of baseball with a 3.61 ERA, and we were quite literally using nearly nobodies. There was Tarek Skubal, and then there was everybody else, basically. And the fact that we made the playoff push with the pitching that we had, they were able to support the hitting. The hitting did get a little bit better after Baez went on IR, but the pitching definitely took over. Pitching chaos was a term used here around town and even in some of the national media. AJ Hinch, of course, he got all the credit, and you know that he deserves all the credit in the world. But there is no what happened with the Tiger season without Chris Fetter. So once again, congrats to Chris Fetter. And we'll see what happens with the next challenge that he has, which is a new starting pitcher that we have signed on a 1-year deal. A couple days ago, the Tigers signed starting pitcher Alex Cobb to a 1-year deal, $15 million, which is, in my opinion, extremely outrageous. We are signing a 37-year-old pitcher who, and last season he was with Cleveland. He didn't even really play for Cleveland. He was out for majority of the season. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he quite literally came back either at the end of the season or quite literally against the series against the Tigers. I think in the off season or even last season before this previous one, he had a left hip injury, kind of took him out. He was last with San Fran. Cleveland signed him in the hopes that he would be better in time, but recovery took a little bit longer, and then he had some shoulder inflammation, which kept him out majority of the season. In the couple years that he had in San Francisco, he apparently was pretty solid. I'm not going to pretend like I know much about the guy, but from what I was able to quickly read, what I was able to quickly look into, he was pretty solid for San Francisco. He was with Baltimore beforehand, which was a disaster from the looks of it. With San Francisco, he got it together, which I think led to Cleveland signing him. Again, I think for him, it was also a 1-year deal with Cleveland. But once again, he's 37. And I believe in the playoff game against Detroit, from what I remember, I think we kind of got a couple runs off of him. But again, apparently he was coming back from injury. Might have not been all the way there, but rather interesting signing. It seems like it's one of those Michael Lorenzen, Jack Flaherty signings where Chris Fetter is going to make them look good. Come trade deadline, we're going to ship you out. This was different, though, because, again, the guy's 37. At least Jack Flaherty, I believe he was 27 years old when we signed him to the 1-year deal. Michael Lorenzen, I think, was in his late 20s as well. And, yeah, we were able to flip them for pieces. I mean, for Lorenzen, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember who we got. Can't remember off the top of my head. I know we got somebody. Don't remember who. But I know with Jack Flaherty, we got Trey Sweeney, who ended up becoming like our everyday shortstop for the remainder of the season. We also got a very exciting prospect in, I can't say his name, Lorenzo. He was first baseman catcher. He's now in single-A baseball with the Michigan Whitecaps. He looks very promising. He looks pretty good. So I'm excited for him to come up. It was a pretty good return. At first, I remember I hated it. Hated the return for Jack Flaherty, but I think I was pretty sold on the fact, like, we're going to trade Skubal to the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to get Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo. We're going to get all these guys back. That didn't happen. The Flaherty trade happened quite literally, I think, with 3 minutes left before the deadline. And it was more like, well, what the hell is this? That was me being a casual. Not really. I mean, forgive me for not paying attention to the Los Angeles Dodgers minor league system, but I was upset at first because I filled myself up with hope that we were going to get something solid through Skubal. That didn't happen, but then once I saw more of the Tiger beat writers, saw somewhat of the Los Angeles people were saying, sounded like we got a pretty good return for Flaherty. Again, I'm assuming we're going to be doing the same thing here with Alex Cobb. Not positive on it because, again, I think that $15 million price mark was, I think that's a bit high for somebody who really hasn't played the last couple years, and then being 37. I don't remember off the top of my head what we signed Flaherty to. Probably should have looked into that. My apologies. But to me, on the surface, and then you can tell by the social media reaction, $15 million seemed like a lot of money, especially when you can use that money towards quite a number of different things that we need. Whether, if we can make Alex Cobb look great come trade deadline again, we have our annual guy we're going to ship off for some prospects that, wait till the kids come up type of deal. Great. I don't see him being any more than a 4 or 5 spot guy. We'll see, though. He might, in Chris Fetter, he, maybe you can teach an old dog new tricks. We're going to see about that. But that's the first one that we got going on right now. Tigers signed Alex Cobb to a 1-year deal. I say first one as if I think there's going to be another one, but that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about the hot stove rumors that are going on right now, of which I've seen a couple interesting ones. There's the most obvious one right now with Alex Bregman, the third baseman from the Houston Astros. The obvious tie being AJ Hinch. Third baseman is a spot in need. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and pretend Jace Young is going to be ready. I mean, I know we called him up from AAA last season. The return wasn't that great. Now, mind you, I think it was the September call up, or I think it might have been mid-August. I'm trying to remember when exactly we called Jace Young up, but didn't really speak a lot of confidence. You know, we got to get to a point where we can flip some prospects for something. And there's a potential person here that I'll talk about in a second with that maybe. But Alex Bregman is the big name. I know right now there was a report that said that he's likely to sign soon. Now that Juan Soto has been signed, that he's kind of the next big name to sign. You have the names like obviously the Astros wanting to get him back. The Yankees are in there. The Red Sox in there. But most notably, the report that I'm seeing is that the Tigers are in the mix, which is a bit of a relief. I'm going to say it's a bit of a relief because Scott Harris, ever since the season ended, has been saying like, oh, you know, talking like rolling his eyes at Detroit media because we keep bringing up, oh, the payroll. You know, we have a bottom like 5 payroll. For the price of Juan Soto's contract, my payroll is, I think, quite literally an eighth of that. Might be even less. But it's crazy. We have a payroll. We got to start spending money somewhere, especially after the season that we just had. The core is here. I know we want to wait for Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, but we got to sign somebody. And I'll go into a little bit about that later. But Alex Bregman is the first big one. A little bit of an injury issue, but I know that his contract's probably going to be worth around $200 million. I don't know about years. That's what's my prediction. Whoever he signs with, it's going to be about $200 million. Another name that I saw come up, which I think is fascinating, because I wouldn't have thought it. Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt, massive infielder. You know, 2 years ago, I believe he won MVP with St. Louis. Pretty big name. But he's also like Alex Cobb. He's up there in age. I believe I think he's also 37. He's in his mid to late 30s. That's all I can remember. He would be a pretty interesting name. He would probably take over first base, I believe. I believe he's a first baseman. But he's just 2 years removed from winning National League MVP. It's a pretty big name to get here. Now, whether that actually happens or not, that's up for debate. But we'll see. I thought that was a pretty interesting name. That wasn't one that I was expecting, but I'm one of the few Tiger fans that believes that first base is an area that we need to address. Spencer Torkelson, in my opinion, he's running out of time to become a mainstay with this team. He's got to perform this year or it's it, and even then, Tigers might surprise and sign a first baseman. It might be, and that'll either signal a move. Torkelson becoming third base because in college he was a third baseman. If we sign, this is the way I see it. We sign a first baseman, Tork's going to move to third. If we sign a third baseman, Tork's going to stay at first. I don't think we're going to sign both a first and a third baseman. It's going to be one or the other. And that's even if we do, first and foremost. I mean, but that comes with a caveat. That's even if we do. But I think Tork's going to get one more year. I think he's going to get one more year. I know I put up 2, but he's going to get one more year. Another name I saw that came up was Ha-Seong Kim, infielder from the Padres. I saw the Tigers' name being rolled around there. I really like the player. I think that would be a pretty neat signing. Now, I know that he had a pretty nasty injury towards the end of the season. And from what I heard is that for whatever team signs him, they might not even get him till June. But he has a tremendous offensive upside. He's a tremendous infielder. That's a favorite of mine. That's probably number one on my list. I think even more so than Alex Bregman and Paul Goldschmidt. He plays shortstop, and we need a shortstop, man. I love Trey Sweeney. He came through in the clutch a couple times, but I don't think he's going to be the everyday guy moving forward. We got to grab somebody, and then don't even get me started on Baez. I better see that man off the payroll, send him to Mars, send him to something. Just not in the Detroit locker room. I'm done with that man. But he's an exciting one. I haven't looked into what other teams are also interested in Kim, but saw the Tigers name. That's all I need to know. And then another name that I've seen, I don't know if there's legitimacy to it. I've just seen some beat writers say this is somebody that the Tigers should target, is Walker Buehler, starting pitcher from the Dodgers. He had a pretty horrendous year last year. Kind of came through in the World Series for them, but during the regular season, if you were playing the Dodgers and Walker Buehler was a starting pitcher for them, yeah, you almost could have chalked it up as a win. Walker Buehler is pretty terrible. Now, the obvious tie to Detroit is, he's trying to rebuild his image here a little bit because he was a pretty solid pitcher before last season. Send him to the pitching coach, send him to the pitching doctor, Chris Fetter. He can fix them. So that's been a name I've seen thrown around. I don't know, again, if there's any legitimacy to it. I don't know if Scott Harris is even looking into the guy. But he's been a pretty popular name because, hey, if your pitcher's broken, just send them to Detroit. We'll fix them, and we'll send them off for another guy we can put in single-A baseball. And then lastly, a trade rumor that I've been seeing. Nolan Arenado, third baseman for the Cardinals. That's a name I've been seeing around. I think the Cardinals are kind of signaling a little bit. We're going to rebuild here. Arenado has a big contract. That's really the only turnoff for me, and he hasn't really been the same player that he was in Colorado, or even I think the first year of his time in St. Louis. I still think it's a massive upgrade over Chase Young or whoever the hell we're going to throw out in third base. But that's a name I've been seeing. Now, whether we actually trade for him, because obviously it's going to require trading prospects. I mean, Nolan Arenado is still a big name. He could easily bounce back. So St. Louis isn't going to just try to offload him for cheap. We're going to have to trade a couple pieces, and Chase Young would probably be one of the names in a trade like that. But we'll see. Anything the Tigers do this offseason other than the Alex Cobb signing, I'll be happy with. Pitching, I really could care less about because, again, we have Chris Fetter. Until Chris Fetter proves that he can't fix everybody, I'm not even worried about the pitching. I know that we need another starting pitcher. I still hope we get another one. I wouldn't mind getting Walker Buehler, but we need more bats in the clubhouse, and that's something that, again, makes me glad that I'm seeing Alex Bregman's name is out there, because that means Scott Harris is trying. And that's all I need to know. So the question I also want to ask is, do you still trust in Scott Harris? Asking that question now, even though I know we're in the middle of winter meetings, hot stove season, but clearly he's ready to shell out money. He's shelled out $15 million for 1 year for a 37-year-old pitcher who hasn't played for nearly 2 years. But again, the fact that Bregman is in the rumor mill, the fact that he's in there shows me that, okay, at least Scott Harris is making some calls, which is, that's all I need. I just need to know that the dude is trying. Now, obviously, Paul Goldschmidt, like I had mentioned him. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'd be Paul Goldschmidt interested in coming to Detroit. I would have to think it's Detroit being interested in Paul Goldschmidt. So again, Scott Harris is trying, but I know that he's still full on, we got to wait for the rest of the young kids to come up. But it's like, why? Again, I will preach this up and down. Why? We got Skubal here now. He's in his prime. He just won the Cy Young Award. We got Chris Fetter doing voodoo magic on these janitors. Why are we waiting? I almost want to say we're in our pitching prime. We can make anybody look good. Reese Olson, babyface, he looks good. Casey Mize, but he's serviceable. Kenta Maeda was the only exception. That dude was a disaster. But Chris Fetter can turn water into wine for all I care, but we still need to address hitting. Hitting is a major issue, and that is something that I cannot wait to see if Scott Harris addresses. If Scott Harris at least signs one person, Alex Bregman, Goldschmidt, Kim, I don't care. Just somebody serviceable. Christian Walker, like, just sign somebody who isn't a nobody. That's all I need. That's all I want. And even with Alex Bregman, he can break his back next year. I don't care. At least you did it. Somebody that you know is serviceable. And the last big contract I believe the Tigers signed was the Baez contract. And people would probably be like, well, he was a pretty big name. Yeah, but he was also ass towards the end of his time in Chicago and when he got traded to the Mets. Like, he was terrible. And I know that was the year of, like, shortstop heaven. You had Marcus Semien. You had Corey Seager. You had dude now in Minnesota, Correa. Like, there were plenty of shortstop names, and Alavila settled for Javier Baez. And now we're stuck with him until Scott Harris grows a spine, and it's like, we'll cut our losses. We don't need you on this team anymore. Goodbye. But yeah, I don't have any belief in that we're gonna sign a big name. I want to be shocked. I want Scott Harris to shock me. If he can just get away with Alex Bregman, I'll shut up. I will shut up and I will wait for the kids to get here. I promise. I promise. Scott Harris, if you're watching, I doubt it, but if you're watching, I promise I will shut up if you just sign somebody. Get someone here. Please. That's all I want. All right, real quick. We are going to take a quick break. Next, we'll be talking a little bit about the Detroit Red Wings. Notice how I didn't call them the Dead Things this time. We're almost there still. But the Detroit Red Wings, again, they had a pretty big win against the Buffalo Sabres, including what was the NHL debut of Sebastian Cossa. Highly prospect goaltender, and we know goaltending is a really big need for the Red Wings right now. But you are watching Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Galise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports? Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Galise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
All right, guys, welcome back to Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Right now, we are going to quickly jump into our Detroit Red Wings. Just came off a win 2 nights ago against the Buffalo Sabres, but most notably, Sebastian Cossa made his NHL debut. The long-awaited goalie prospect was finally here under emergency circumstances because all our goalies keep dropping dead. But he's here. And he didn't start the game. He was up here for, I believe, 4 games. He didn't start any of them. But Husso got lit up in the first period. He allowed 3 goals on 7 shots. 3 goals on 7 shots. Not a good start. Again, defense and goaltending is just a massive issue for the Red Wings right now. But when the second period rolled around, Lalone made the call and Sebastian Cossa came out. And he made his NHL debut. He allowed only 2 goals, but he saved 12. And most notably, we got the win. I can't imagine the kid being in a shootout in his first career game, but he made the saves that were needed, and the Red Wings finally got a much-needed win. The Red Wings record right now, as we currently stand, is, I apologize, I had it pulled up, 11, 13, and 4. Still basically near bottom of the barrel in the conference, though. We're only still 1 point ahead of the Canadians, who has 25. But what I want to talk about is what exactly happened on the ice on Monday night. So Husso leaves the game. Cossa comes in. And immediately you can tell that the team was motivated. And for those that have watched previous episodes, I had talked about the Red Wings just lacking motivation, that they're out there. It looks like they don't even care. They're not even trying. That Lalone's doing a pretty terrible job of motivating his players. But once Cossa came out, and this was confirmed by Dylan Larkin after the game. He even said so. We wanted to rally around this kid. They did. Now, yeah, Cossa still allowed 2 goals, but forgive the kid. He was thrown in the lion's den, basically. And even then, still made 12 saves. But even most notably, the defense was on fire after that. After the second goal allowed by Cossa, they didn't let any other goal happen. Rest of the second period happened, no goals. Third period was completely clean. And then obviously Sebastian Cossa won it in the shootouts. But that was like a bit of a rallying cry for this team that so desperately needed one, that they were like, listen, he's in here. Let's not scar this kid, because that's a huge task. That's a huge task where you get called up because, not even because they want you up here, but because, hey, we quite literally almost have nobody else. Talbot was out with injury. Lyons out with injury. I believe they're both coming back soon, though, because I know Cossa got called back to the Griffins, Grand Rapids Griffins. But being in that circumstance, not knowing if you were going to start. Now, granted, Lalone could be like, hey, you're here only if something happens to Husso, because Husso himself has injury issues. But the fact that Husso allowed all those goals in the first period, again, Cossa went in and just did a phenomenal job. And I know that he probably felt that extra support from the team. Seeing them actually try now and knowing that they had his back. So that was a major win. Final score was 6-5. Andrew Kopp with 2 goals, DeBrincat with a goal, Lucas Raymond with a goal, and then Mo Sider with a goal. 21 total shots, which again, credit to the defense for only allowing 21 shots, and then credit to the offense for getting above 31. And I don't really want to give credit to that, but there's been some games where we quite literally only shoot the puck 12 times. So quick shout out to the entire team for rallying around Cossa and making sure that the kid, again, that he wasn't scarred for his first ever game. You would think, and this is where the positivity ends. This is where the positivity ends. Because you would think that, hey, we have an issue with goaltending. Because even when Talbot and Lyon are healthy, it's not like that they're Dominic Hasek or something. Goaltending's still an issue. You finally saw your team get motivated to win. And what do? I know I kind of spoiled it already. They sent Kosa back to the Griffins. And that just begs the question, what are we doing here? You barely missed out on the playoffs literally within the last minute of the regular season. That kept you out of the playoffs. Thank you, Washington or Philadelphia. You so desperately now need something to rally around. You found it. You found it on Monday. And you send them back to the minors. So what now? Red Wings play tomorrow. I think they're against Philadelphia tomorrow. And I fully expect things to go back to how they were. I truly do. I can understand the team being lit up to want to make sure that Kosa is in good hands, but what are you going to do now? You're going to still have that same motivation? I don't think so. I need them to show me that I'm wrong with saying that, and I don't believe that's going to happen. It boggles my mind, some of the decisions that are being made here. Again, waiting for the kids. Okay, well, you brought up one kid and then you took him back to the adoption agency. Like, why? Why? You know we needed a spark. Kosa only allowing 2 goals when Husso gave up 3 in 20 minutes. Kosa gave up 2 in 60 or 40. My bad. I'm bad at math. And nah, thank you, kid, but you can go back now because Talbot or Lyon is back. What the hell are we doing? We've been seeing some coaches in the NHL get fired left and right already this season. Why isn't Lalonde part of that list? I'm going to scream it till my lungs give out. Lalonde has no business being here. You can clearly tell. And this was something notable to me. That yes, the players we have on defense outside of Mo Seider are bad. They're terrible. I get it. But you saw what happened when they had a spark, when they had something to play for. You saw what happened. They only allowed 2 goals. They lit up the puck on their own side, and they won in shootout. We saw, okay, like great. 1 game sample, but we saw it happen. We know what this team can do when motivated, and the motivation shouldn't be coming from a player making his NHL debut and they don't want to make him feel bad at the end of the game. It should be coming from your head coach, and that's not happening. I know that there was a conversation on Detroit radio a couple weeks ago saying like, oh, shouldn't Dylan Larkin be a part of that? Because look at last season. We were riding high. He got hurt. Team died with him. And then once he came back is when they made that final push. Like, shouldn't the captain bear some responsibility? Dylan Larkin is here, and he's going through hell being here. And I know that he signed here. He wanted to be here. Local kid. Great. But it has to come first from your coach. It has to come from your coach. Because we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. Dylan Larkin still could have been, like, yes, he's the linchpin to everything. Larkin goes down, your team's done. We saw that happen last year. But that doesn't fall on the captain. That falls on the coach. For make sure that the wheels don't fall off the bus, and they did. That shouldn't come down to your captain. That comes down to your coach. That stretch where the Red Wings were just losing to bottom of the barrel teams, like the former Phoenix Coyotes, current Utah hockey team. There were 2 games, I think, in that stretch where Larkin were hurt, that if we would have won even one of those games, we would have been in the playoffs, and it wouldn't have come down to Philadelphia not knowing that they had no shot at making the playoffs and pulling their goalie and letting Washington win. That's what it came down to. And it wasn't even just you lost to Phoenix. You got your ass beat by Phoenix in both those games. And that's not on Larkin. That's on coaching. And Lalonde, we're seeing the same thing again this year. No motivation, no accountability, just we'll figure it out. You're done. I'm sorry. Steve, grow a spine. I know he was your boy in Tampa. Get him the hell out of here. Get him the hell out of here. Bring a Little League coach for all I care. No motivation. I know if this team was slightly inspired, they could be making noise. Do I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup? No, but they'll at least make hockey fun to watch again. Monday's game was the first time I was ever excited to watch a game because not only did Costa make his debut, but you could tell for the last two periods that they were trying. So what, are we going to continue being the Detroit Dead Things, or are we going to go back to glory and be the Red Wings again, maybe make a wild card push, and finally fucking do something? We'll see. I have no hope. I have no hope. And then lastly, another Chris Ilitch thought. Chris Ilitch, as everybody in Detroit knows, owner of the Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Tigers, and several parking lots throughout the city. And Little Caesars, pizza. I don't want to do the whole Chris Ilitch, you suck, you're cheap, whatever talk. I just want to bring a question, an idea. Because obviously the thing that we're currently seeing, I addressed it with both, is we're waiting for the kids to come up. Okay, cool. Let's wait for the kids to come up. We can be annoyed all we want. We know that not much is really going to change. I mean, the Tigers might make a splash. We'll see. But we know that, okay, we're going to wait for the kids to come up. And at least with Scott Harris, I can't recall if Steve Yzerman has said this, but Scott Harris has said we'll be ready to spend once the kids are ready. Even though it looks like they might spend this year, we'll see. At least they're interested in spending. But obviously my disdain for Chris Ilitch is out there, as is with a lot of other people. I know that at some Tigers games and even on some Red Wings games, there's been some sell the team chants going on. I think the Tigers even had a sell the team night, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to play devil's advocate a little bit. I want to get some thoughts, the brain moving. And most of this is almost for myself. This is how I therapize. I don't know if that's a word. This is therapy for myself when it comes for the Red Wings and Tigers. We let the kids come thing play out. And as we all know, not every prospect's a hit, whether that's football, hockey, basketball, any sport. Not every prospect is a for sure thing. Obviously, the Tigers and the Red Wings have been bottom feeders for the longest time, so they should have some pretty good prospects in their system. I know currently the Tigers currently hold one of the best prospect pipelines. I understand. But let's say it works out. Let's say for both the Red Wings and the Tigers that it works out. The kids come up here, even if 50% of the kids work out. Like, let's say Kevin McGonigal works out. Maybe Max Clark doesn't, but at least McGonigal does. Lorenzo works out. And then for the Red Wings, we got Palika coming up. I know we're waiting on Danielson. But let's say they work out. Do we forgive Chris Ilitch? Do we say, okay, I was wrong about you? I thought you were cheap at the time. But I didn't see the vision. But now we're here lighting it up. Now we're spending money because, again, Scott Harris has said that they'll be ready to spend once the rest of the core gets here. And at some point, I think there has to be an acceptance of that. And I'm saying that for all of you. I'm not saying that for me because I'm never going to accept it. But I at least want to have you guys think about it. Has it come to a time, and I'm kidding. I know I'm working on accepting that this is how it's going to be. I'm just waiting for winter meetings, baseball offseason to be done before I'm solidified on my answer. But let's say the Tigers don't really do anything. They don't sign or trade for any of the names that I had mentioned. Maybe they signed or traded for somebody lesser than the names that I mentioned. Do you continue to be, Chris Ilitch, I hate him, screw him, sell the team? Or do you finally give in to the, fine, I'll wait for the kids to get here, and then if everything works out, maybe I forgive you. Because I think there's going to be that's going to be a come to Christ moment a lot for, I think, a lot of Detroit fans if it all works out. You are going to have to go to Chris Ilitch and say, I'm sorry, I didn't believe in you. Because that's the only question with him right now is, are you cheap or do you legitimately believe that these kids are going to be the future of everything? Because again, right now, even currently, thank God we signed Alex Cobb for the Tigers. Otherwise, the biggest expense that the Tigers had this offseason were those air-conditioned seats that you will never sit in. But that's my thought with Chris Ilitch. Do you forgive him if we really do have to wait for the kids with both the Red Wings and the Tigers? Do you forgive him if it all works out? Doesn't have to bring a title here. Doesn't have to bring a Stanley Cup or World Series here. But even if we get close to it, even if we sniff it, do we forgive him? I would like to think I would. Now it's just a question of, do I think I can actually accept that I'm waiting for the kids to arrive? We'll see. I don't know what you guys think. But we'll see about that. All right, real quick, we're going to take one more break before we finally talk about positive stuff with the Detroit Lions. Once again, coming off a major win against Green Bay last Thursday. We have all that and more. Once again, you're watching Gritsville, USA right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Whoop, forgot that. Put myself back on there. Welcome back to Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Now, for the last 10, 15 or so minutes, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite, Detroit Lions. This Sunday, they take on the Buffalo Bills and what is a potential Super Bowl preview. Now, this game, I know last Thursday, when I was giving the Green Bay recap, saying that I don't care if we win or lose this game. Still don't, but I'll go into that in a little bit. But I do want to talk about what the Bills are bringing to town. Now, the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, they suffered a loss, actually, against the Los Angeles Rams in what was a high scoring game. Final score 44-42, Rams with the win. But Josh Allen played quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Played the game of his life. Game of his life. He was 22 for 37, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. We were quick. Shout out Josh Allen for fixing the interception problem. But not only that, he also ran 10 times for 82 yards for 3 more touchdowns. If you're a fantasy player, that was good enough to get you 52 points. So he had a really great game. The Buffalo defense just couldn't hold up against the very high-powered Los Angeles Rams offense. Stafford, Puka, Kupp, Kyron, they're just, when they're all healthy, Lord Almighty, that's the Rams are a team I don't want to see again in the playoffs. I even think the season opener we got lucky that Puka got hurt. Not that I'm wishing an injury on anybody, but I don't think Detroit would have won that game. But this game's a pretty big deal, and that's going to be at the same time frame as the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia matchup that's going on as well, and that's another huge game across the league. Could potentially be a Super Bowl preview, but not as much as what Detroit and Buffalo is. The game's airing on CBS, and CBS already said, and this is how I know it's a big deal, because they only show up for the big time. They're going to be on location at Ford Field in Detroit. Only time they've done that this season was when Kansas City went to go play in Buffalo, when Buffalo handed them their first loss of the season. So this is a pretty big matchup, and the league knows it. They're hyping it up, and it should be, because this could very well be who we see in the Super Bowl. If the Lions can get through the tough NFC gauntlet, because it's without question that the NFC is a tougher conference this year than the AFC. If the Lions battle it through, which I believe they will, they're the NFC champion. I do believe it'll be the Buffalo Bills they will face. That is my Super Bowl prediction. Again, everybody knows my thoughts about Kansas City. I think they're a fraud. The Houston Texans aren't inspiring. I know they just lost Petrie for the rest of the season. So defensively, they're weakened. Who's left? AFC North, Baltimore, or Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is teetering on fraud alert a little bit. I don't think they're definitely going to win the North. I don't see them. They're not my top Super Bowl choice. I'd even put Kansas City above Pittsburgh, if I'm being honest. But we'll see that matchup on Christmas. And then Baltimore, I think defensively, I think they're a little weak. And we all know what their offense can do. But defensively, I don't think they're strong enough. So the Bills are my choice for AFC champion. So this is a pretty big matchup. Now we have some injury updates for you as well, which will also play into my prediction. Coach Campbell today said that Onwuzurike will be back at practice tomorrow, so that's looking good. He was saying that Taylor Decker is practicing. Pascal should be coming back to practice soon. Trying to remember what he said about Reeder. I think Reeder's practicing too, so we're getting some guys back. We're getting some dogs back. It really seems like Pascal is the only guy that might miss. I know of all the guys that he had mentioned and talked about, I think Pascal was the one that he was a little less confident on. But even then, even getting Onwuzurike back, and getting Reeder back will be huge. Getting Reeder back will be huge. Taylor Decker, if he needed another week, I wouldn't mind. The Buffalo defense was not inspiring this past Sunday. Because I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the Rams have a great offensive line, and the Rams did whatever they wanted with that defense. So, Taylor Decker, if he misses, I'm not stressed. Dan Skipper has been phenomenal. We all saw him play his ass off the other day, which resulted in the very funny post-game locker room celebratory thing that Campbell always does. And you see Dan Skipper, just puking his guts out. Hilarious. But those are the injury updates right now. Now, we're going to look at the current NFC playoff picture. The teams that we need to lose just don't want to. Minnesota made slight work of Atlanta. They won 42-21. And Philadelphia, they escaped Carolina. I think Carolina should have won that game, and God, if it wasn't for Xavier Leggetti dropping that wide open touchdown at the end, the playoff picture will look very different. But I tweeted something out the other night, and I think it was a little bit controversial. I had a couple Lions fans be like, "Are you serious?" And the truth is, yeah, I am serious. I am serious about what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna read you the tweet word for word. I'm gonna keep it real. The only team that worries me as a Lions fan right now are the Minnesota Vikings. I know last week I was up and down calling them frauds. And even weeks before that, I'm like, this team is fraudulent. I'm concerned about the Vikings right now. They keep winning despite having Sam Darnold as their quarterback. Their defense is for real. But here are my thoughts as to why I think the other teams aren't. Philadelphia. And again, word for word what I said. Sirianni is going to show his ass soon. Trust. Kansas City. Major frauds. Repeating Super Bowl champion has zero bearing to this season. They won't keep getting away with it. Because, again, they even barely escaped the Chargers. And the Chargers are a good team. Just, Green Bay. LOL. Buffalo. I don't know, man. I think we can beat them this week now. And now my reasoning as to why I think Minnesota's scary. And I kind of already said it, but I'm going to say it again anyway. As to why I think Minnesota is for real. Kevin O'Connell is a hell of a coach. I think with this team, particularly with Sam Darnold, that matters. Jefferson and Addison are a lethal wide receiver duo as well. I don't know if you saw their final stats from this past Sunday, but yikes. Not to mention the Brian Flores defense. As much as I hate to say it, the Vikings are real. And I still believe that. I wasn't drunk or anything Sunday. That is a real thought that I have. I really do think the Minnesota Vikings are for real. And that worries me. Because I'm really going to hate if it comes down to that last game. I don't know what the current thing is. Like, Minnesota just needs to lose one more game. If Minnesota loses one more game, we win out until week 18. I don't care. I need Minnesota to lose one more, preferably against either Chicago or Green Bay, because I know they still have them left to play. We have already swept Green Bay. They're done. Bye-bye. They're still crying about it on the social media. It makes me happy every time I see it. They're still crying. Next week, I believe we play at Chicago. A game because I know I live in the Chicago area. Wish I could go to that game, but work. I'm not too concerned. I think seeing Goff and the Lions win in Green Bay in a monsoon in early October or November, whenever that was, made me believe that I think they can weather the elements a little bit more. Not that it's really snowing much here in Chicago, but we know cold weather is a thing. And Goff is notoriously bad playing in cold weather. But other than the Bears, we only have the Vikings left. We're currently 4-0 right now in NFC North play. If we can get to 5-0 heading into the Minnesota game at Ford Field in Week 18, and if Minnesota can at least lose to one of those two teams, again, I'll feel a lot better. I'll have to look into, and I'll share with it next week if things still stay the way that they are. What the potential tiebreakers would be in that scenario if Minnesota does in fact beat us in Week 18, and if the current records stay as they are, meaning Detroit goes into that week with 1 loss and Minnesota goes into that week with 2. I know this Monday night the Vikings play against the Bears. I'm hoping the Bears defense can come back and stop what is currently a very lethal Minnesota offense. Philadelphia, I'm not worried about it. Their offense is a mess right now. Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown are in a spat. That one of their own defensive players, who's not even with the team right now, he's on IR. His career might be done because he's old. Basically just outed the fact like, hey, these two guys might hate each other now, and it's like, well, that's great for your locker room now, isn't it? Sirianni's going to do something stupid, in my opinion. Minnesota's the team I'm worried about. But as far as that goes, my prediction for Sunday. Like I had mentioned, I don't care if we win or lose this. I still don't. I'll be wearing this exact jersey right here, the Barry Sanders jersey. My Brian Branch jersey is sacred. That's only for the games that we need to win. I don't think we need to win this one. If the Lions lose, that is fine. It is okay. Again, AFC opponent has no bearing to the NFC race, has no bearing to the number 1 seed race. We don't need to win it. We're fine. As long as we don't completely crap the bed, we're good. However, I do think we win this game. I do. Last week, I wouldn't have said so. But the Green Bay game changed me as a man, as a fan, as a man fan. And just seeing how the Buffalo defense played against the Rams. Now, Buffalo can put up points. We saw they, even in a game where they gave up 44, they almost came back and won. They put up 42. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the Rams defense is any good, because they're not. The Lions defense keeps doing what they're doing. We saw that in the Green Bay game. And now we're getting guys back. Even if we just get Onwuzurike and Reader back this week, not even Pascal, I'm not worried about it. Like, truly, I'm not. Oh, the other name, Ali McNeil. He's practicing again, because I forgot that he got concussed. But he was full practice, I believe, yesterday and today. So he's also coming back too. So not saying we're gonna shut out Buffalo. Not saying it's gonna be a low scoring game. But I like our defense way better than the Rams' defense, and I believe we can stop Buffalo from just having their way with us. Aaron Glenn will cook something up. The main thing is going to be stopping Josh Allen. I don't know what happened with James Cook this past Sunday, but that man was nowhere to be found. And as far as from what I've read, there wasn't any injury issue with James Cook. It's almost as if the Buffalo Bills chose not to use him. So that was a choice. Their offense, I mean, yeah, they got some weapons. I mean, Josh Allen still threw for 3 touchdowns, but let's be real. Josh Allen is their main weapon. If you can prevent Josh Allen from at least running, I think you can stand a good chance. I think the defense can apply some pressure in ways that the Rams defense cannot. And because we have been. I mean, Zadarius Smith is also a monster. But if we can stop Josh Allen from running around, having his way, this is a game, because we know what our offense can do. Our offense is, I still believe, even more power than the Rams. And the Rams have a high-powered offense. But I still think our offense is still the best in the league. So if the Buffalo Bills are going to show their ass again, just like how they did against the Rams, I'm not concerned about us not being able to score any points. As long as we don't do any stupid play calling a la the Tampa Bay game earlier this season. So I'm not worried about the offense at all. It's going to be a matter of what can our defense do to contain Josh Allen. And that's going to be the main key factor in this game. Josh Allen. Not Jameer. Not Amari Cooper. Not Goff. Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to decide who wins this game. If he goes off again, we probably won't win it. So I'm glad that he had his game where he just went absolutely ballistic. I think it is a for sure thing that he wins the NFL MVP now. I'm glad that he got that out of his system, because now I think the Lions can kind of bring him back down to earth a bit. But we'll see. Again, I'm not going to be mad if we lose this game. Will I be like, damn it? Yeah, probably. But I'm not going to be like, oh, whoa, it's over. No. It has no bearing. on the NFC seeding. I'm only worried about the NFC teams right now, and we still have like I said, we have at Chicago next week. Then we have the Niners, who all of a sudden look like they have some semblance of an offense again, and then we finish out with the Vikings. Again, if the Vikings can lose one of those games, cool. I'm straight. Philadelphia, I think, if they can't fix it offensively, they will drop a game. They will drop a game. They should have dropped it against Carolina. They should have dropped it, and I'm uber mad about that. If Leggetti could just hold on to the ball, we'll be talking about something different. But that's my prediction for Sunday. I think it will be high scoring still. Let's call it 34-31 Detroit. 34-31. I know number predictions to me mean nothing. But for argument's sake, I don't think it's going to get into the 40s like it did with the Rams game. Because, again, I think our defense is better than the Rams' defense. And, again, the Bills put 42 on them. But it won't be as much. I still think it'll reach the 30s. Again, definitely high scoring. But I do think Detroit pulls it out with a win. And Lions fans, if they don't, it's fine. Don't sweat it. The realistic chance of us finishing 16-1 are very low. It is what it is. Just move on to Chicago next week, and that's a game that we got to have in the bag. But yeah, as far as Detroit's concerned, I'm not worried. I know I'll be happy to be watching a potential Super Bowl preview because that's essentially what it is. And I'm excited. I like the Buffalo Bills as a team. I really respect Josh Allen and what he does. I really do. But all right, guys, that's the end of our show. That's what we got going on. And with let's be hash here. Next week, let's hope I have better news with the Tigers. Let's see if we can celebrate an Alex Bregman signing or a Goldschmidt signing. We'll see though. And as far as the Red Wings are concerned, let's see if some inspiration is back in the team. Let's see if there's a fire lit under them. I don't believe that is to be the case. But, the motto for this show should really just be, I'm happy to be wrong. Because with that, I really would be happy to be wrong. Don't get me wrong. I just want these teams to give me something to watch. I want to feel good. Like how good I feel about the Lions, I want to feel that way about the Red Wings, about the Tigers. I know I haven't really talked Pistons the last couple weeks, but I'll promise I'll talk about the Pistons next week. We'll be going more collegiate next week as well. I just really wanted to focus on those three teams tonight because Tigers right now, they got stuff going on. Lions, obviously, and the Red Wings, I had to address the Costa thing. I really did have to. But once again, I do believe the Lions are going to pull out with a win this Sunday, and we'll be looking at 13-1 and on to Chicago. But hey, once again, my name is Christian Harvey. You have been watching Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you call it, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We're all there, and we're going to be wherever you find your podcast, whether that's going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. We're there too. Have a good week. Go Lions, go Red Wings, go Tigers, go everybody. Have a good night.